I would like to say a few words on behalf of MDAC and on my own behalf on hearing the news that our dear client, collaborator, friend and hero Rusi Stanev has died at the age of 61. My heart goes out to the very many people who were touched by Rusi's life, to the Bulgarian disability rights movement, and to my colleagues who've kindly shared their memories and thoughts about what Rusi meant to them. Rusi's human rights horror story started in 2000 when a relative had him placed under guardianship behind his back. In 2002, Rusi was living happily when an ambulance arrived at his home. He was told to get in, and he was driven 400 kilometers away to an institution for men with mental disorders in the village of Pastra. He wasn't told why he was being taken to this institution. The institution was visited by the European Committee for the Prevention of Torture, which found that it was unfit for human habitation. It was filthy and freezing in the winters. Rusi had to share a bedroom with several other men, and he told us how he woke up regularly to find others dead. He survived, but had to spend 8 years there. The Bulgarian Helsinki Committee is an NGO which met Rusi in the institution during one of their regular monitoring visits. We worked with them to try and get him out of the institution. He escaped, but was arrested and taken back. His requests to leave were denied. We went to court, but the judges said that as a person under guardianship, he was a non-person before the law. Bulgarian justice having failed him, in 2006 we and the Helsinki Committee worked together to take his quest to freedom to the European Court of Human Rights. There were 2 oral hearings in Strasbourg, and we brought Rusi and his lawyer Aneta Genova over both times. It was Rusi's first time out of the country. We had to apply for a passport for him. It was his first time on a plane. It was his first time eating foreign food, and he and I enjoyed the French wine. After 6 years of litigation, the Grand Chamber of the European Court of Human Rights issued its judgment in 2012. Lawyers often describe their cases as groundbreaking, so don't take my word for it. Google the many commentaries and citations of this judgment that have appeared about the case in the years since. Stanev versus Bulgaria has been cited in numerous academic publications and by courts around Europe. It was the first time that the European Court of Human Rights found that the right to be free from torture and ill treatment had been violated in a disability case, and it was the first time that the court had found that the right to liberty had been violated in a social care case. These 2 findings effectively changed the European law. And the case also made a connection between the needless and brutal systems of guardianship and institutionalization, 2 major priorities of the global disability rights movement, and 2 issues that MDAC has been working on since our organization's inception in 2002. And the judgment acted as a catalyst for reform. Bulgaria ratified the UN Convention on the Rights of Persons with Disabilities soon afterwards. The government initiated guardianship law reform efforts and invited NGOs to participate. Rusi and we worked with the Bulgarian Centre for Non-Profit Law and GIP Sofia, 2 key NGOs, on these reforms, and we took the lead in advocating at the Council of Europe level, whose Committee of Ministers last year issued a strong statement to the Bulgarian government, telling the government that they should take more action to make good the systemic human rights violations that had been identified by the European Court in Rusi's case. Eventually, Rusi was able to leave the social care institution, but almost immediately he was placed in a secure psychiatric hospital, and it seemed like we were back to square one. Only through the constant advocacy, support, dedication and legal actions taken by Aneta Genova, our incredible lawyer in Bulgaria, did he get out. But after that, he was effectively abandoned by the state. No support for the trauma he had suffered over so many years. No rehabilitation. Nowhere to live. At points, he became homeless. And as much as Rusi was grateful that he had survived, he often talked about his guilt at leaving other people behind. And that's always reminded me of Primo Levi's work on the Holocaust. Steadily, Rusi found his voice and in recent years spoke publicly about his battle for freedom, both in Bulgaria and around Europe. My colleagues have invested a huge amount of time and effort on Rusi and his case. They've chain smoked with Rusi, they've danced with Rusi, and they've despaired with Rusi. Rusi has developed a friendship with many of us, and as much as he was genuinely so grateful for what his lawyers did for him, all of us are, in turn, incredibly grateful to have been given the opportunity to work with him. And I'll always be so proud of what my colleagues have achieved for Rusi. And so as much as we went on a journey with Rusi, he also underwent a transformation too. From human rights victim, he became a human rights advocate, speaking out in various audiences about his own suffering, but demanding inclusion and equality for others too. Our feelings of grief today are tinged with anger at the Bulgarian authorities, who should feel a deep sense of shame. Rusi was continuously let down by the social care and justice systems. He was under guardianship until his death, despite our help in representing him in Bulgarian courts. That we couldn't help him out of the shackles of guardianship is deeply frustrating and painful for all of us. Rusi brought the voices of people with mental health issues and other disabilities in Bulgaria to the national authorities and to the international community. He forced people to open their eyes at the injustice facing people denied their autonomy and freedom, and open their imagination to a world in which people are treated as equals. Many people met Rusi and have been touched by his story. They've been moved by his humour and inspired by his courage. He was a kind man. Even though his life was tough, he found time to support his friends in every way he could. Many of my colleagues, past and present, have worked hard for Rusi's rights. I want to pay tribute to all of them. And in particular, I want to recognise the huge contribution of Aneta Genova, who's been Rusi's lawyer in Bulgaria for over a decade. Aneta was in very regular contact with Rusi and supported him in so many ways so that he could manage his life. Rusi was sometimes a tough customer, but Aneta never gave up on him. Her compassion and commitment to Rusi has been incredibly moving, and we extend our deepest sympathies to Aneta as she mourns Rusi. On the way to Strasbourg to attend the hearing before the Chamber of the European Court of Human Rights in 2009, Rusi commented to Aneta about what his case meant to him. He said, "I'm not an object. I'm a person. I need my freedom." His beautiful statement about what it means to be a human being is an inspiration for those who care about the plight of others. And Primo Levi might have said about Rusi that his heart spoke the language of the good. The case that bears Rusi Stanev's name will be remembered with aching pride by all of us who worked on it. It will be studied by law students for generations to come, and it'll be used by lawyers to get people out of institutions and into the community, and used by the disability rights movement to reverse historic injustices. But the greatest privilege is to have known him. Rusi taught us what it means to be human, to be quietly determined, to be courageous, and to be kind. We will draw strength from his commitment to justice. We will mourn him, and we will miss him.